Yes, indeed, folks, you are listening to Blue Please here on CynicalBrit.com with myself, Total Biscuit. Righto. Let's talk about Rated Battlegrounds, shall we? Why not? Why not? So, the Rated Battlegrounds are available for testing. Needless to say, I haven't really done them. The thing is, you don't have to test a Rated Battleground, because it's the same as a normal Battleground. You've just got a pre-arranged team, and you get a rating at the end of it. However, even though mechanically it is identical, in terms of playstyle, it couldn't be further from the truth. Why is that? It's because of the nature of the pubby. Yeah? Pubbies have a bad name. A very bad name. And most of the time it is deserved, actually. I wish it wasn't, but it is. Pubbies are generally bad. You can assume that as a default position. It's weird because you think, well, isn't a pubby just a normal player? Well, no, they're not. Because if you're a pubby, it shows a particular attitude. And that attitude is, I'm okay on my own, mate. I'll be fine. I don't need help. I don't need a team. I don't need to be organized. I'm okay. I'm a lone wolf. I'm a ninja. I'm Neo. That's the kind of attitude. And in some games, it's okay, because, of course, there are games that rely entirely on your own individual skill. And then there are other games where it's not okay, where you rely on a team. And then in games like that, preferably, you want to be with people that are willing to work as a team. Lone pubbies, more often than not, aren't, because they have this overinflated opinion of themselves. They don't need anyone else. Either that, or they're so obnoxious that no one actually wants to team up with them. This is more often than not the case. You see a lot of people that says, I don't want to be in a guild. What they really mean is, no guild will take me because I'm an arse. Seriously, it's true. You see these people have been in guilds before, they get kicked out, they've ninja looted, or they've acted like a complete dick to everyone. It is simply the case. Okay. What about Rated Battlegrounds, though? What's going on with that? So, I like the concept of Battlegrounds. I dislike the implementation of Battlegrounds. Or do I? The thing is, Battlegrounds, in terms of implementation, don't really have an awful lot of things wrong with them. Some Battlegrounds are better than others, but then a lot of that is subjective. Yeah? Like, I really like Strand of the Ancients, but a lot of people don't. Why do I like it? Well, because it's actually quite tactical. And more than individual skill, it's more reliant on your team working together and playing a little bit of bait and switch, feints, strategies, and the overarching logistical efforts of defending these war machines. To me, that's quite appealing. There's a lot of games that I'll play for individual Twitch skill, but WoW won't be one of them. It just doesn't, it's not my thing. When it comes to Twitch skill, I think of either Dota-style games or I think about FPS. If I'm thinking about overall strategic skill, then I'll be thinking about something maybe a little bit slower. I'll be thinking about an RTS or maybe a turn-based strategy. I don't think I'd really be thinking about WoW in that way. I mean, WoW has strategy in it, both in PvP and PvE. Hell, PvE is all about strategy and the implementation of said strategy, but it's about implementing that strategy in a perfect way. Adaptation and things like that doesn't really matter. PvP does have some adaptation, and I believe there was a quote that I'm going to massacre and paraphrase, is that no plan ever survives first contact with the enemy. And I like that. I like that an awful lot. Battlegrounds in WoW remind me to some lesser degree of playing Savage and Savage 2, which were third and first person shooters with a very much a strategic element to it. We're talking not only about the fact that you've got to be strategic in order to win, we're talking about the fact that there's actually a commander and stuff like that. Hell, I really liked playing Battlefield 2, for instance, because that had a strategic element to it. It had the commander who could issue orders and call in support and things like that. That was really great. Games that don't have that are somewhat less appealing to me these days. So, Battlegrounds, in principle, are really awesome, yeah? The kind of things that I would enjoy doing. The problem is that in practice, they're not. You don't have a commander interface and you don't have a battleground leader. Yeah, there'll be someone that's labeled battleground leader, but you have no incentive to follow the dude. At all. It's randomly picked. We're talking about someone that probably knows nothing. Like, oh, you're the battleground leader. Okay. Follow my orders. No. Why? Because it's just a name. Nobody else picked you. Nobody voted you into office. It's not like voting in a new commander in Battlefield 2 or indeed in Savage or anything like that. It's not like having a team with an agreed team captain, a raid with an agreed raid leader. It is, in all essence, a pug, a disorganized pug with various people vying for leadership position, which results in disaster because you get conflicting orders. And most people just ignore everything. Absolutely everything. They just turn around and say, well, you know what, I don't care. These guys are arguing amongst themselves. I'm just going to do whatever I feel like. Why would I do anything else? And actually, that's an understandable attitude. I don't really blame people for holding that attitude because you've seen the average pug guy. You know what that person does. You know how that person acts. So why would you follow them? Hell, it's like following a suicide dude, you know? I'm suicidal, I'm going to jump off this cliff, please follow me. And, you know, a couple of lemmings might, but aside from that, everyone else is saying, hell no, I'm staying the hell away from that cliff. I'm going wherever I want to go. Anywhere that's not the cliff. It's sad that because it's a pug, your default position is to assume that the guy is wrong and that his strategy is terrible, and the right thing to do is the exact opposite of what he's saying. Hell, half the time I end up Battleground leader, I end up giving completely wrong advice just to make sure that people out of spite will do the opposite of what I tell them. And then suddenly we win because they've done the right thing. It's reverse psychology, folks. It works on toddlers, it'll work on WoW players. Rated Battlegrounds, on the other hand, probably the best thing to happen to PvP ever. At all. It is. You want to know why? Because this is Blizzard saying that the only legitimate competitive PvP that's going to be had in Battlegrounds will be had in pre-arranged teams. It will not be had in pubs. Now, some of you might be disappointed by that because that could be construed as a sign of defeat. You could say, well, Blizzard is just giving up. They're a bunch of wimps. They don't want to fix them. They just want to provide a different tier so we can ignore everything else. And I say that's correct because you can't fix something that broken. You can't fix people's attitudes. You can socially engineer them, but at the end of the day, an arsehole is still an arsehole, and an entitled guy will still be an entitled guy. You will never have as much fun in a pub as you will. You see, that's a bad thing to say, because all of the English people are turning around and saying, yeah, hell damn right we're going to have a bunch of fun in the pub. You'll never have as much fun with pubbies, with randoms, as you will with an organized fixed team, particularly if you know them. I play fixed team League of Legends all the time. I used to play fixed team Dota all the time. I play a lot of games fixed team, and that's good, because I know the people I'm playing with. It's generally more enjoyable, because I know that those guys got my back. And when they don't have my back, when I'm playing with randoms or fanboys, it's actually why I stopped playing with a lot of fanboys in League of Legends, because, as it turns out, more often than not, they're pretty damn awful. Sorry, I'm having flashbacks to them. Ugh, the feeding! The feeding! And there's a reason I don't play with those people anymore. There's a reason I don't do Battlegrounds anymore, because it's not strategic. I never feel like the win was deserved, or the loss was deserved. It's entirely out of my hands. It's like, again, in League of Legends solo ranked, often the result of the game is entirely out of my hands. I can play a killer game, and I often do. Hell, I recall going 6-0 on Annie 9 minutes into the game, which, if you don't know League of Legends, is pretty damn good. Especially since I was solo laning at the time. But that game ended up in a loss. You want to know why it ended up in a loss? Because the rest of my team sucked. And there was nothing I could do to stop that from happening. You try and take ownership of the game, but people are entitled. They don't want to be told what to do. They get naturally defensive and then often hostile after the fact. You can't tell these people what to do. You have no chance to earn the respect of these people, and indeed, most of the time you couldn't anyway. You can go 6-0 like I did. Do you think that got me respect from the team? No, we got OP character, You know, I come help their lanes and they just cry. You're stealing my experience and my kills. Like, you weren't going to get the kill anyway. You were getting your ass handed to you, you ignoramus. That's what happens in Battlegrounds. That is Battlegrounds in a nutshell on a larger scale. I never feel in a Battleground like I have been the person that won or lost it. You know, I could be the flag runner in Warsong Gulch, and I can do a good flag run, but you know what? I'll never feel like it was really me. Anyone else could have done that flag run. It's not that hard. You just run in a straight line or juke around a little bit. And yeah, of course, you'll fight from time to time, but most of the time when you lose the flag, it's not in a one-on-one situation. Every now and again it will be, and yeah, you can take ownership of that situation. You can say, well, I am the reason. I am the sole reason why this outcome happened. But most of the time you feel completely out of control. Arathi Basin is my favourite battleground. And if it's not in a fixed team, I feel totally out of control all the time. Maybe I'm just a control freak. Maybe all I want to do is take ownership of every situation, but I don't feel like being along for the ride. I feel like doing my part, but even if I play to the best of my ability, we still lose because of other people that I have no control over. That is not appealing to me as a gamer. That is something that I do not want to happen. Hell, actually, it's half the reason why right now in Call of Duty Black Ops for the past few days, I've just been playing free for all. Because you know what? I like that because I have sole ownership of that. Every situation where I die is my fault. And of course, some of the deaths are understandable. Some of them are a bit crap, you know, I get hit by an attack dog or a kill streak or whatever. But you accept that because you don't feel like the kill was unjustified. Whereas in League of Legends, say if I'm with solo guys or in Battlegrounds, and if I end up getting killed, if I end up getting, let's just say I get ganked by 3 people and there were no missing calls given, or I'm put into a situation as a direct result of the incompetence of my team members, where some hero has got so powerful that it can't be stopped by normal means. That feels bad to me. I feel like I'm not playing the game, I feel like the game is playing me. And I hate that. I absolutely despise it. It's a horrible feeling. It makes me angry. It does. It really, really makes me angry. However, you take the concept of the battleground, which is in itself a solid concept, and then you throw in the idea that the only worthwhile tier of battlegrounds is in an organized fixed team, and then suddenly you get to take ownership of everything again. Because in a fixed team, you have some control over what's going on. And indeed, the fixed team does as well. The team is not going to keep bad players in it. They're going to be organized. They're going to make an effort because they don't want their rating to go down. Absolutely not. Just like a proper fixed team in almost every game I can think of. You can take ownership of the result and the outcome of the fight. Arathi Basin with a fixed team. I've done this before. We got a fixed team back in the day for Arathi Basin. We filled the whole thing. And you know what? We took ownership of that fight and it was fantastic. Because we had people on vent, we split people into 3 groups, obviously, 15-man battleground. And we organized where we were going. We gave calls. It's like we've got 4 guys coming in on this location. We give class calls, say, right, we've got a mage, a warlock, we've got 2 druids coming in on, there's a fight going on here. What's the situation? We keep everyone up to date. We make sure to divert resources from one place to another. That's why I really love Arathi Basin, because you can't hold all 5 points reliably. Yeah? If you 5-base Arathi Basin and you box them in, then well done, you know, but the thing is you would have had to have fought for that. If in a 15 versus 15 fight, maybe in a 15 versus 5, you can just go, hey, I'm just going to go rush stables, right, we'll block them in, they can't do anything, blah, 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 kill them all. But in a proper fight, in a proper competitive battleground, that doesn't happen. You have to divert resources from place to place, you have to be extremely careful about what you manage, and even after all that, of course, it does come down to how well you fight. Communication is key in that battleground, and I love it. I love the fact that battleground's always on a knife edge. It's awesome. Because if you overextend yourself and you spread yourself too thinly, then you can have a point attacked and overwhelmed by a superior force. It's a wonderful, chaotic balance that's going on all the time, which is why it's such a great battleground. There's a similar one, by the way. Battle for Gilneas is actually very similar to Arathi Basin. It's got a very similar concept. So if you're sick of Arathi Basin, you might like the Battle for Gilneas. I never really enjoyed the other ones as much. No, I don't really like Alterac Valley. I don't like the Eye of the Storm. Not hugely into Warsong Gulch. It's alright, but it'll never have that strategy and that resource allocation and all of that communication that's involved in being a successful Arathi Basin player. And it's now finally that we're not only being given a venue to play a battleground properly, but we're being given an extremely compelling reason for doing so. That's why rated battlegrounds are the best thing to happen to PvP, and that's why I'm looking forward to actually doing them. My name is Total Biscuit, and you are listening to Blue Please here on CynicalBrit.com. When I come back after the break, we're going to be doing some Cataclysm Q&A. Send it into the Murloc@gmail.com. Any questions you have about the Cataclysm, which is coming up in about 3 weeks, folks. Oh, yes. It's got to be good. Then, you can ask them. You've got a few minutes while I play some music. As to what I'm going to play, really think this one through. We're gonna have something like battle, don't we? Ah, yes. I know exactly what to play. Ah, yes. There are so many tracks with the word battle in it, but this one just takes the cake. This is the kind of thing you want to be playing when you're doing Arathi Basin, folks. Turasas with Battle Metal. Enjoy.